Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Recruit Military Live, a continuing series of live broadcasts covering all things military transition, veteran employment, mil-spouse employment, and much, much more. My name is Lucas Connolly, retired Army officer and former TAP program manager, here to share with you the ins and outs of navigating the turbulent waters of civilian employment. If you're in search of meaningful employment after a period of service in the military, well, you're in the right place. Please visit rmvets.com/live to learn more. All right, let's roll. Are you getting ready to transition out of the military and into civilian employment? Admit it. Are you stubborn? Do you just hate listening to advice? Well, today's a great show for you because the topic is 7 transition tips you will probably ignore and live to regret. We have a lot of material to cover today, so stay on board for the whole show, and I personally guarantee you'll learn a thing or two. We're joined today by 2 very special guests. One coming to us live from historic Richmond, Virginia. He had a distinguished career in the U.S. Army, culminating as a regimental sergeant major and the Sergeant Major of the Office of the Chief of Army Public Affairs. Since retiring, he's filled his time hosting his own radio show 5 nights a week on eagleonlineradio.com. That's eagleonlineradio.com. He has become a certified digital networking coach, helping others to leverage digital social media for professional success, and he's even started his own consulting company. Our second guest is coming to us live from the misty swamps, not of Mordor, but of Fayetteville, North Carolina. He started his career as a young Marine and went on to be to a distinguished career in U.S. Army Human Resources, culminating as the Director of Human Capital Management for U.S. Army Forces Command. Since retiring from the Army in 2018, he's been working closely with transitioning service members to advise and coach them through transitions from military service to civilian employment. He continues to do so today, both in his spare time and in his role at the Project Management Institute. That's right, folks. 2 sergeants major for the price of 1. Ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming Jose Velazquez and Mr. Matt Quick. Gents, welcome to the show.
Woo, Jose. Woo! Welcome.
Good morning, Recruit Military.
All right, we're turning it up to 11 and ripping the knob off, guys. I think this is going to be a great show. All right. All right, folks, now that you know who we are, the 3 troublemakers in the screen in front of you, hit us up in the chat window and let us know who you are. Who are you with? Who'd you serve with? Where are you talking to us from? What's your status? Are you getting ready to retire? You're separating, transitioning, going into the National Guard or Reserve, or some other status that I haven't thought of? Hit us up with your questions, comments, issues, or concerns, and time allowing, we'll get after them. Now, Matt, I'll tell you, a lot of advice gets thrown at you from a lot of different directions, and it's hard to take it all in when you're getting ready to transition. We could probably do a show called 100 Things You Need to Get Right in Transition, but we're going to focus in on 7, which unfortunately most people tend to underestimate. All right. So the first one, the big one, the emotional, the significant emotional event that happens when you transition is the realization that your career, as you know it, is over. Deal with it. Matt?
I'm sorry, but that's the absolute truth. Whether you decided, your family decided, or the military decided, your career is over. You may know this 8 months out, 6 months out, a year out, whatever it is. You may know this. Just really dive into transition space quickly. Find mentors, start networking, figure out what you want to do, where you want to live, where you want to do it, what companies. But me and Jose, we can help you do that. We have specific how-to approaches to get you to where you want to be. So just deal with it. Your career's over. Your rank goes away. Sorry.
Yeah. Jose, your thoughts?
Yeah, well, I turned my rank in at CIF. I was a first-time go in transition, so that was a win. Although I couldn't find my pile cap, so I guess I wasn't a first-time go there.
First aid pouch.
Yeah.
OD Green first aid pouch. Haven't seen it since 1998.
Where is it?
I know where it. I don't know where it is, but I paid for it.
I know.
It's
I know.
$6.
Hey, what's going on? I think John Gale said, "What's up, man?" Hey, to all our friends in the comments section, I agree with Matt. Listen, it's tough. Being in the military has likely been a significant point of definition for you. It has been a part of who you are, and it will continue to be a part of who you are, but it doesn't solely define you. And as you transition from service member to veteran, life changes. And as Matt noted, you really have to take into account the needs of your military, of your family, the location you want to be at, the salary you want to have, the interests that you want to have. And sometimes a little exploration is the best way to go, so that whatever job you get after the military is as close to the right one as you can get and meets the requirements and expectations of your family and yourself.
But on a positive note, you're not constrained to what you did.
Absolutely. You're free.
That's a good thing. Now,
the
for
world is
some,
yours.
it's not so good. It's too many choices, but a positive note, you can do whatever you want to do.
Yeah, I agree. And also, because you are no longer tied to it, I ask people all the time in the training, and both Matt and I do this, but I ask them, what do you want to do? 90% of people say, oh, well, I was an HR guy. Okay, that's what do you want?
Yeah. What if you don't want to do HR anymore?
Well, and it almost
going to open a bakery.
Yeah, it almost there's this realization for some people that, wait a minute, you mean I don't have to do what I did? And you don't. If you have a particular interest somewhere else, it's a great idea to follow that if you're interested in doing so.
You don't have to live in Leesburg or Fayetteville. You can actually move, Matt. Just get out of there.
It's just outside Fayetteville.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, Spring Lake. Yeah, I mean, and people, and that's a lot of people, they land right where they land when they retire, and they don't yet wrap their head around the idea, like, you know what? If I don't like, of course, as I'm sitting here in snowbound Fort Drum, New York, you can move. You can get out of there. You want to live in Florida and start a business. You want to go work for a Fortune 500 company on the West Coast. You want to be a career advisor, in Killeen, Texas. Pick up and go as long as you're financially prepared. Am I wrong?
Absolutely.
That's right.
All right. Now, a lot of people, they want to tell you the story about, hey, my cousin, he just retired as an E8 and he's got this cush gig as a GS-50 and he doesn't do anything all day. He just answers the radio at range control and he makes $180,000 a year. That's what I want to do. How many times I've heard this stories, but Matt, it's not always what it's cracked up to be.
No, federal jobs aren't for everyone. Listen, I applied for them too while I was getting out. That 6-month rule, not really a thing. But I applied for them as I was getting out too because it was my comfort zone. But I was both interviewed, referred, and I made the top 3 in 3 jobs: a GS-15 and GS-14. I wasn't selected. Internal hires. But the good thing about that was it made me look elsewhere, which is a great thing. And I found other organizations to work for, and now an amazing nonprofit that I didn't even know existed 4 years ago, even last year. I had no idea, but I know now. And it's like, this is now my passion. So again, the federal job is not for everybody. It's a comfort zone. But if you want to grow, if you truly want to grow, step outside of the federal hiring and look at a private sector. And if you want to, look at entrepreneurship.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say, so when I first got out that very first year, I was very uncomfortable, and maybe some of you will, agree with this or may be experiencing this right now or have. And that was that very first year, you don't know how quickly the retirement check is going to come in, when it's going to hit. You don't really know what your disability rating will be based off of, your personal circumstance. And so I was very uncomfortable. I did have the opportunity to work in a previous office as a GS employee. And while it was surely not my long-term plan, I definitely wanted to go into the private sector and entrepreneurship. It was a great starting point, but I didn't allow myself to get comfortable because it's just not what I wanted to do. That's not in any way a negative thing. Some people genuinely like to stay close to the flagpole when they leave, but I always encourage people to do a little soul searching and figure out if they're staying because it's just comfort and they're kind of afraid to step outside, or whether maybe they really do have this deep desire to continue to serve, whether in DOD or another federal agency.
You made a good point there, Jose, about being close to the flagpole.
Mm-hmm.
I still am. I work with military and veterans all day long, whether it's transition, whether it's PMI, whatever it is. I'm educating, and they're like, I had no idea it existed. I had no idea that was even available or an opportunity. So it's an educational thing. If you can afford it, get a job that you can provide education to people, not just selling them on things or tell them what to do. If you're a senior leader in the military, please try not to talk to people. but talk with people. That's one thing. It's very frustrating to me that that's another show, Lucas. Sorry.
Yeah, that's a whole nother show. And you know what? And you know, it's a really great thing because I have the privilege of 2 guests on the show that are exploring their passions. And that really comes down to it. If you are lucky, if you've prepared enough, if you've prepared yourself educationally, experientially, and financially to do so, then when you transition out of the military, you should be able to pursue your passion. All right. Now, you still got to earn a paycheck, so you have to be pragmatic. If you're not ready to start your own business, you might need to get a regular job until that gets off the ground. But Matt has a passion for helping service members, soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines. Jose loves his radio show. I don't know if he's monetized yet. We can get into that. It's another thing, but there's an opportunity. If you have the privilege, the luck, or the good fortune to pursue your passion, that's really where you're going to be happy. Me, I love my job. I never hate coming to work. I get to work with soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, Space Force Guardians every day, and I love it. Hey, let's talk finances for a second. I think all of us have known or have been that young enlisted man who's got $2,000 worth of rims and $4,000 worth of stereo equipment shoehorned into a $500 Honda Accord, right? Jose's like, hey, you saw pictures of my old car?
Still outside.
That's a hot car. But we know where that comes from. We know oftentimes that comes with some bad financial decisions, some bad debt. All right. Now, hopefully that doesn't follow you into transition because that could be a problem. Am I wrong, Matt?
No, you're right. And it's not always bad financial decisions. Sometimes in the military, you're not trying to get rich in the military. You're not going to get rich in the military. Until you're about E7, you don't make decent money. So E1 through E6, it could be a struggle. I know that. I was there. You got to have side hustles, whatever it is. Just find something. Whether your spouse works or you work 2 jobs or have a passion or hobby that pays money, whatever it is. But when you're going to transfer from the military, start today. Anyone can start today. Start paying down or paying off any kind of bad debt. House debt is good. The bad debt, pay it down, pay it off. Because here's what it does. It opens up an opportunity for you to do whatever you want to do, not what you have to do after the military. So I worked for 25 years in the military, and I didn't really want to get a job after the military. I thought I needed one. But when I got out, I'm like, I'm good. And now I can follow a passion. For my first 2.5 years in the military, I wasn't paid money. I was paid in exposure. I was paid in a company, agreements, but never like money. I didn't need it. I followed my passion because I paid down my debt, and it took me probably 2.5 years, Lucas. Not a bad gig.
Absolutely. Yeah. It doesn't constrain you. That's the great thing is, the best day to start is about 2-3 years ago, to get out of debt, maybe 5. The best day to start is the second best day to start is today. I mean, I understand the weight of consumer debt. And in many cases in my life, the consumer debt that I acquired was out of necessity. It wasn't, because I wanted to have cool bling, but it was just out of necessity and misunderstanding. I just didn't have the education monetarily to understand where I was making mistakes. And it just, felt like I was hitting a wall in every direction. And if that resonates with any of you in the comment section, you're not alone. Many of us have experienced something similar. If your parents didn't teach you about money and you don't come from money, you may just not have known. But I will tell you, the military does give you options and opportunities to learn more about money. And as Matt noted, this is a separate conversation about the services provided on your installations and outside of your installations, some organizations that support service members and military families in learning more about their finances. But what I will tell you ultimately is, please, 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 if you get nothing else out of what we talk about today, please get rid of your consumer debt because it will free you up so that you can focus on doing the things you want to do and not the things you have to do.
Yeah, and it's
plenty more out of here. You'll be fine.
Yeah, and it's amazing because if you went down to a bank and you told them you want to borrow $10,000 at 18%, they would look at you like you're crazy. Why would you want to pay 18%? So there's folks walking around with $10,000 balance on a credit card, and they don't think too much about it because it's only $40 a month. It's that lulling you into that sense of security that it's only $400 a month while you're racking up compounded interest. And the big thing, I think, is being able to say no. Is going into a job interview and coming out and saying to yourself, I'm not sure that's exactly the right one for me. I know I could do the job. It's close to where I am. It's pretty close to what I want to be. But man, I just can't afford to say no. I got bills to pay.
Yeah.
And that's what you don't want to be doing. You want to be able to have that flexibility. Okay. Now, I love this one, Matt. You told me, because I have so many examples of this, which are just bad examples. One of my peers did this, and I beat him up for it relentlessly. Develop an exit strategy. Do not work until your last day in uniform.
Now, many people say, I have to. I must work until the last day. I have to. I owe it to the country. No, you don't.
You know.
Here's why I say those people are more scared than anything. Because most times these are great leaders, and great leaders develop their people and empower their people. If you can go to school, if you can take leave, if you can go to the hospital or whatever medical appointment you have, if you have time away, there's always someone there that's going to cover down for you.
Mm-hmm.
Always. It's the military is the next person up mentality. That's what it is. Don't think you're so damn important that you can't go away and take care of yourself because you gave for years, decades, whatever it is. It is time to focus on you. And I'm not saying road status. If you don't want to retire on active, I'm not saying that road status, but it could be a part-time job. Take time away, a couple hours here, a couple hours there. Figure it out. Jose and I did it. You can do it too.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, and I worked in and Matt did as well, but I worked in these higher headquarters where people feel this great obligation to help a senior leader. And I appreciate that. They have this huge obligation that they feel toward, of course, the country, the service, and whoever their senior leader is, to be there till the very last day. And I've actually had people who said to me, I leave on Friday and I'll figure everything else out on Monday. And I think to myself, and I'm going to tell you, it's selfish. It's selfish because the Army will keep rolling along. It's in the song.
It's ego.
In the song.
You think you're that important that the Army's just going to stop because you left?
Yeah. George Washington left the military. Eisenhower left the military. Chesty Puller left. We can leave. And the Army's not going to fall apart. The service, whatever service you're in. I'm telling you, where I believe it's selfish is once the military moves along and you jump off that train, trust me, it will not slow down for you. But if you don't take care of those you love and focus on them on the transition out, those are the people that are going to be with you. And so every day that you don't pay attention to their needs and prepare for your future is a day that you're being selfish. Again, the military is going to keep rolling along. It's the people that stay with you that matter.
Lucas, if I may.
Please do.
It's not always just about the Army will keep moving along. When you leave the military, when I left, no one reached out to me anymore.
Yeah.
They were done with me. It's not that they didn't care. They didn't have the capacity to care anymore. They had to keep doing their mission. So I built a network that reached out to me, not the military, not my previous job. And there's a few friends that I worked along the way that did, but no one in my current job could care about what I was going through. They couldn't care. So when you walk away, just know that you're not going to be respected enough to be called once you leave. And that's just that's a tough truth right there.
They got 99 problems and you ain't one.
No.
You're not one of them. And there's a lot of well-intentioned folks out there who will thank you profusely and say, hey, let's stay in touch. Let's get together in a couple of weeks. And look, they're going to PCS. They're going to move on. They're advanced. Yeah. They've got their next NTC rotation, the next mass TAC jump, the next JRTC. Their mission continues. Your mission has got to shift. It's like when you're in an NTC rotation, like change of mission order comes out and everybody stops. What's the new mission? Mission is you, your family, your future, your children, your home, like everything that's been neglected for the past 2 decades, shift focus, lift and shift.
Agree.
All right. So let's talk for a second about VA disability claims, because I'll tell you a quick story. I had a sergeant major, not to poo-poo on my favorite sergeant's major, but I had a sergeant major come into my office in a previous job with his foot in one of those hard plastic boots, just kind of limping along. And he had, of course, the Tower of Power and all the chest bling. And I said something to him about his VA disability. He said, well, there's really nothing wrong with me. I don't think I need to do that. And I was like, Sergeant Major, your foot's in a boot right now, and you're telling me that there's nothing wrong with you? And we had a very calm and professional conversation. I won him over. Get it done. Uncle Sam used you up, rented your body, as somebody likes to say. Get it done. Am I wrong?
Jose, do you want to handle this first?
Yeah, a first thing I always think of is, so you want to save the government money now? Come on, guy. You deserve this. The government, the nation has set aside money and services to take care of you because you served. Why you would want to get cheap at this point and be like, oh, I don't know, give that back to the... They have done that because they care about you. These services are available to you. Your disability rating, regardless of what it is, it could be 0 disability rating. You're not going to get better over time. And I don't mean you in the short term. Of course, you may have an ailment that can get fixed in the short term. But I'll tell you, I have more, cracks and creaks now than I did when I left the service just 3 years ago. And I know 10 years from now, it'll be worse. And so, having that information documented, if not for this moment, in the long run. But I'll tell you, you benefit from this. Your family benefits from this. You've earned it. And there's nothing worse than leaving the service and not getting this stuff documented. I'll tell you something. I know someone who walked in to get their final physical, and the doc said, how you doing? And they were like, yeah, I'm good. It's a nice day. I'm good. And the doc annotated, hey, he feels good. He's doing good. And don't get me wrong, the person really did feel good that day. But here's what happened. When they went back a year later, 2 years later, and they were like, hey, I'm having this issue, a real issue. They weren't trying to scam anybody. They were like, they just looked at the records and were like, hey,
there's nothing here.
You never said that anything was wrong with you, And so now that's an uphill battle that this person has to fight. And it's not an easy one to fight. So, really focusing on getting that application in to ensure that you get the support that you deserve is absolutely key. And you're not taking any money away from anybody.
No, sacrificing yourself is not saving the government money. I mean, let's face it, we'll blow another 25,000 rounds of 5.56, so we don't have to do a live turn-in. All right.
And before you file your claim, which is 6 months before your separation date, get life insurance.
Yes.
Get life insurance. Here's my story. I got life insurance because a mentor said, don't be a dumbass, get life insurance now. I got life insurance. So I got my policy 6 months before I got out. And then I wanted to see if I was right because I like testing theories. So a year after I got out, when I got my disability and I was already rated, that same policy was 4 times the amount of the policy I have right now because all my ailments were finally known. And listen, like you, I hid things for years because if you didn't hide things for years, you weren't going to be in a leadership position. You weren't going to do it. That's the mentality. So I hid things for years, never my record. But when I was getting out, the VA says, tell me everything. Blah. Here's everything that's wrong with me right now. And my wife filled the paper out. We did it together. Now this is aimed at more of our senior leaders, Lucas.
Mm-hmm.
If you consider yourself a servant leader, I see it in your profile all the time. I see servant leader all over your profile on LinkedIn. If you consider yourself a servant leader, take care of yourself first. Take care of your family next. Don't worry about the military. Again, they keep going. Take care of yourself if you're truly a servant leader.
First priority of aid is to self.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Put your mask on first, right?
Right. Then help your buddy.
Then me. Then help me out.
Right? And if he's not doing good, check his pockets for loose change. Question from the audience, Brian Marcus: what can a retiree do that is changing careers, working on their master's degree? Anybody want to jump on this one here?
Jose, you go ahead.
Let's see. What can a retiree do that is changing careers, working on their master's degree? Okay, so a couple things, right, that come immediately to mind. If you're working, just for the sake of knowledge, if you're working on a master's degree, it's always great to reach out to people in the field that you're interested in getting into. Sometimes it means, depending on your financial situation, it may mean, taking a side hustle, making a little extra money, taking a part-time job. Sometimes, I took a full-time job at one point in my life while getting my master's degree. It's not easy. My God, it's not easy.
No, it's
but
not.
It's doable if you have to do it. But what I'll tell you is, if your goal is to work on your education, don't let anyone dissuade you. Move forward. Understandably, as Lucas said earlier, you got to put food on the table. You got to keep a roof over your head. That's understandable. But you make the sacrifices now, for that. Last thing I'll say is, are you getting a master's degree in what you want to do, or are you just getting a master's degree? In the civilian sector, and it really should be in the military too, you just kind of, well, let me go back. When you're in uniform, and especially if you're an enlisted service member, you just kind of get the degree that's closest to you.
Check the box.
You're checking the box. Okay. The promotion board is coming up, and X amount of your contemporaries have a bachelor's or a master's degree. And so you get it in basket weaving. And listen, underwater basket weaving is important, and someone has to do it.
Matt, did you go to AMU or UMUC?
I didn't go to any of those. I went to CTC, and then I went to it's not a great college apparently, but I got a degree though. Yeah. But my question to Brian is anybody is, all you said was cool, but what do you want to do?
Yeah.
We're not going to tell you what you can do. What do you want to do? Yeah. And we can explore your options. Master's degrees are great, but if it doesn't fit into what your goals are, it's not relevant. So let's talk about what you want to do. Brian, follow up with me on LinkedIn, and let's discuss what you want to do, and we'll find a path that's best for you.
Yeah, and can I just add one thing? And please, Brian, reach out to Matt because he's the expert. But one last thing I'll share with you is, certifications in many fields are as or more important. And that doesn't mean a college education isn't important. I always believe that any education makes you a better person. Regardless of what you're learning, it expands your knowledge, it expands your experience and your understanding of the world around you. And that's always a benefit. But man, there are certain jobs that when you have that particular certification, you have the opportunity to get a leg up on either getting in the front door or getting promoted. And so it's not always the traditional, bachelor's or master's degree. It may very well be a certification, maybe a certification you don't even know exists yet.
Awesome, and great advice from both of our guests. Jenny Sykes jumps in, and she's drilling right in. She's locked on target to something one of you guys just mentioned, and it's a mentorship. All right, finding someone within the field that you're interested in, and this is item number 2 of 7. We got just one more to go, so folks, hang in there. All right, finding a mentor in your field, finding someone who can help you uncover the unknown unknowns, as Rumsfeld would say, and help you to get to where they are. How crucial, Matt, is mentorship as folks transition?
Listen, career coaches are awesome. You know why? Because I'm one. Just kidding.
There you go.
So career coaches can guide you to where you want to be, but the people in the jobs that you want to have know how to get there because, well, they're there. Reach out to them. So if you want to be a project manager at X company, reach out to that person or those people. Have the conversations. Now, maybe 25% respond to you. Count your blessings. That's a good amount right there. But talk to them. They will tell you what degrees, what certs, what you need to do to get in the job. And oh, by the way, if you're so good at how you present yourself to them, they may say, you know what, we have a job here I want to refer you to. Let me put your name in a hat and apply. So networking with the people in the positions you want can lead to jobs. Those people know how to get there, a place you want to be, because they're there already.
Yeah, informational interviews are key.
Crucial.
And yeah, there's a variety of names for them. I know them as information interviews, and most people I believe do. But talking to people who do the thing you want to do, I mean, they're especially in the place you want to do it. I mean, there's just no other or better way to get the information that you need. And as Matt noted, if in that conversation you strike up a relationship, a professional relationship, they see your resume, most of them are going to say, hey, shoot me your resume. If you've connected with them at all, there is always the chance that whether in the company they work in or someone they know at the competing company down the way, they were maybe buddies in some previous context, they may say, man, Matt is the guy for you.
I wish we had a space for him, but what do you got going on over there down the street?
Over there. And next thing you know, I always tell people, when someone refers you, I feel like you almost go to the top of the list, right? So, a recruiter or a hiring manager has a stack. Well, they're not physical any longer, right? But just imagine a stack of resumes, right? And they're all sitting on their desk and they're like, oh God, I got to go through these resumes. Yeah. It's driving me nuts.
The referral goes to the top.
Yeah. Joe Schmo, Sally Sue, whatever the names are, right? They all kind of look alike. But they generally have about the right experience, about the right education, that kind of stuff. So how do I find the right person? Well, if Matt walks in the front door and says, Jose has to get this job. I know this guy. I talked to him. Jose, I'm telling you, give this guy a shot. I'm getting the phone call. And I'm getting the phone call because Matt used the trust that he's developed in that company, and he basically put it on me. He gave me the opportunity to shine. Now, look, I have to impress the people. They're not just going to give me the job just because Matt said so. Well, Matt does have a lot of sway, but they might not necessarily give me the job, but they'll give me the opportunity. I'll have the leg up over all of those other people whose resumes look a lot like mine.
Absolutely.
On you, though.
Yeah. And of course, he's wagering his reputation on you.
Absolutely.
It's already paper thin, so let's hope he does well. Hey, all right, folks, we're heading right into the number one thing that you want to consider, the number one transition tip that you're going to ignore and regret that you did. Let's do a quick recap. Number 7, your military career is over. Deal with it. Number 6, federal jobs are not for everyone. Number 5, pay off or pay down your bad debt. Number 4, develop an exit strategy. Working up to the last day is not a badge of honor. Number 3, get that VA claim, but get your insurance first. Number 2, seek out mentors in the career field you'd like to enter into. And number 1, of all the things that you've forgotten about in the last 2 years, remember your family. Matt.
Consider your family. My wife wanted to stay here because of her current doctors. It's not a bad thing to be familiar with the people, but they followed us for years, decades. So I let her decide where we're going to move. I want to move to the beach. She said, we can visit the beach. I want to stay here. So we negotiated and we stayed here. That's what we did right there. And I get that. And the location is another thing. But here's also where I messed up. I got my life insurance policy, and I said to my wife, you know what, when I die, you'll be an instant millionaire. That's what I did for her, right? I did it for her. So a year goes by, and she always had these different sayings talking about things. And she one day she goes, well, how much do I get in life insurance? I said, oh, no, you don't need life insurance. I'm good. I don't need money when you die. So I got to thinking about it. I'm like, do you want life insurance? She goes, I think I should have it for the kids. Our kids are older. They don't need anything, but they're older. So I was devaluing her for years. And now we finally got her life insurance policy, and she felt actually valued. Yeah. So location's great, but show your family value. That's what I would leave you with today.
Jose?
Yeah, I would say, family is just so important, And by the way, it doesn't necessarily have to be a spouse or children. Maybe family means a brother or sister. Maybe it means parents. Sometimes I think, anecdotally, I don't know that this is real, but I think service members who transition within the first 10 years, let's say, have a better go at some of this than some of us who stick around for a long time, because they're not afraid to go home to South Dakota or somewhere in Colorado or somewhere in Montana, wherever they came from. They're okay with going back and starting a new life. And sometimes those of us who retire after 20, 30 years are indeed uncomfortable leaving the comfort level, the bubble of a military installation. Now, there's huge benefits that come from being around a military installation. Medical is one of them. You know, man, you don't know how expensive things are until you leave the area where a commissary is. My God. So there are huge benefits. But what I can say is I've met friends who live just outside of the scope of a military installation because that was where family was. And I've rarely met people who regret the decision to step away from a local area with a military installation, if that's the only thing keeping them there. If the things keeping them there are much more than that, you know, work-life balance, maybe a job they love, you know, whatever the cases might be, the benefits, that's okay. But if the sole reason is just comfort level, you know, we may not be doing our families a service. So
and you might be missing out on an opportunity, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I just say, you know, I've seen enough Yellowstone to know that I'd like to move to Montana. So anyone who lives out of Montana and wants to give me some land, I'd like to go out there, guys. So
all right, guys. So we're looking for some cheap land in Montana and still be able to broadcast live out there.
That's right.
You're going to need one of your own radio towers up there up on the side of a mountain.
At least good internet.
Exactly. Well, guys, it's been fantastic having you on the show. I'm sure we could carry this on for another hour or so, but my boss expects me to do work that is actually in my job description. But in all seriousness, thank you for taking the time to be with us. Every show with you guys is really just a pleasant experience. On behalf of Recruit Military and the folks that joined us today, thank you very much to retired Sergeants Major Matt Quick and Jose Velazquez for being on the show. Thanks, guys. All right. And for those of you out there in the audience who haven't already done so, do yourself a solid and use the link rmvets.com/live. That'll take you to a website with over 400,000 job opportunities from 16,000 employers around the world and around the corner. Recruit Military is on a mission to help veterans, transitioning service members, and mil spouses alike find meaningful job opportunities. That wraps it up for us today. Next week, we're going to be joined by Todd Nelson, who's going to talk to us about financial readiness for transition. You're not going to want to miss that one. Forgetting to be financially prepared can mean the difference between money in the bank and being broke as a joke. Until then, this has been Lucas Connolly from Recruit Military Live. Good luck and Godspeed.